kiddos. We'll be right with you. And good morning.
Yes.
How you doing?
Morning.
It is.
No, I'm all right. A little tired. Yesterday was busy.
Yes, it was. So, yeah, my last shoot yesterday, the last house I shot yesterday, I get there, and the homeowner comes to the door, and without a hello, without a even a "Who are you?" She opens the door and "Are you vaccinated?"
Oh, one of those.
And I just said, "Wow, I'm not going to discuss my private medical information with you. That's the first conversational piece I'm going to engage with a total stranger in will absolutely never be my vaccination status or anything else related to my health. Are you vaccinated? Do you have a yeast infection?
Are you
Oh,
vaccinated?
you're right. That is none of my fucking business.
Are you vaccinated against what? You know, there's more than one, right?
Right?
Are you vaccinated? Well, yes, I am.
Against all kind of things.
Well, no, I mean it's just and I'm gonna leave it right there. Intelligent people can figure it out. Are you vaccinated? Yes. I've most certainly been vaccinated. There are certain diseases I will never get. Never. I won't get them because I've been vaccinated.
Yep. In fact, if you've been vaccinated,
You should
you're
probably
supposed to be immune to the disease you were vaccinated against.
exactly.
Speaking of things that are fake, there was an audit of okay, so there was an audit of Joe Biden's Twitter followers, and guys, I am going to take a moment and try to fix this live on the air.
Okay, so
That's
there was an audit of Joe Biden's Twitter followers.
Yes, and it found that half of them, 49%, are fake.
To be fair, the half that aren't fake are probably still fake. So, I mean, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here all week. Tip your waitress.
Yes. So yeah, it looks like about half of Biden's Twitter followers are just bogus.
Well, okay. In all seriousness, to be fair, that's not Biden writing those tweets anyway. So,
Oh, you mean Biden's tweets are also fake?
yes,
See, in fact,
this is like one of those Aurora Boros of bullshit.
right. So something interesting to understand is when you're talking about fake accounts, there are two types of fake accounts, broadly speaking. There are bots and there are sock puppets. So a bot is just that. It's low grade AI that's generating tweets. Usually you'll see a group of bots that are working together to Dan, for just a second I thought you typed tinnitus there, and I was about to say I could have gotten that vaccination. Buddy, if I knew now what I knew then, if I knew then what I know now, I'd have got vaccinated against tinnitus. But anywho, so you've got sock puppets, you've got bots. Bots, it's a line of code that replicates a series of tweets. Ooh, that's ominous.
Yeah, that's not spooky at all.
Habeas corpus says certain vaccines will give you tinnitus. Yes, of the 556 variety. That's how I got it. Anywho, in fact, one might even go so far as to say that tinnitus is a common side effect of the application of the pedophile vaccine. So the sock puppet is where you have somebody else posing as an account. And it's not the same as a parody account. Like there's a new Alex Jones parody account that's at Alex Jones Info that's on, and that's different. That's the Babylon Bee being not actually news, or at least it's like it's like a few years ago when the Babylon Bee was parody and satire. That's different than being fake news. And I mean, in no way should we take the fact that it looks like roughly 50%, 49.3% according to the SparkToro audit. In no way should we necessarily take the fact that half of Joe Biden's followers simply don't exist to be any commentary at all on our expectation of his legitimacy as the former vice president. Have I adequately skirted that accusation?
I mean, I feel like I already flirted with getting us in hot water once this morning, but sure, let's just...
How's the water out this war? So, yeah. So according to the article, and this is from the New York Post, at least half of President Biden's 22.2 million Twitter followers are bogus, a new audit revealed. The audit, which was done for the social media giant by software firm SparkToro, found that 49.3% of the president's followers are fake followers, according to Newsweek. SparkToro has defined fake followers as accounts that are unreachable and will not see the account's tweets, either because they're spam, bots, propaganda, etc., or because they're no longer active on Twitter. Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, who is currently attempting to buy Twitter, has expressed concern over the growing number of fake accounts and proposed a potential crackdown on the sham accounts. And that's one of the many reasons that this story is actually interesting. Musk said he believes that 20% of all Twitter accounts are fake and vowed to not go through with his $44 million purchase of the social media giant until the issue is resolved. My offer was based on Twitter's SEC filings being accurate, Musk said. Yesterday, Twitter CEO publicly refused to show proof of the minus 5%, the less than 5%. This deal cannot move forward until he does. And basically, so the current Twitter CEO, the little Indian guy that replaced the crack wizard.
The diversity hire.
Yeah. He claims, there it is, Parag Agrawal. The CEO, Parag Agrawal, fired back at the world's richest man, saying that the digital giant suspends over 500,000 spam accounts every day and locks several millions of accounts they suspect might be spam. SparkToro used the same audit on Musk himself and found that nearly 70.2% of Musk's 93.3 million Twitter followers were fake. And that is interesting.
Well, good for the goose, good for the gander. But that suggests that the vast majority of people that have got several million Twitter followers, a huge chunk of those Twitter followers are bots, are fake.
Well, and, fake. The other piece is spam. And it seems like Elon Musk would be a much larger target for spam bots than Biden. So Biden, as a politician, obviously has a vested interest, an actual incentive to artificially inflate the appearance of his popularity on social media. But what is Biden offering? Why would anybody want to get his attention other than for political purposes?
But you mean other than, I don't know, you could have an oil deal in Ukraine that you really want to go through.
Yeah, you're not going to publicize that. But Elon...
But you got to try and get his attention.
But Elon is Tony Stark, man. Elon's a bit of an eccentric, billionaire, a little bit of a playboy. He's been known for the odd party here and there. Dope smoking with Joe Rogan, don't slow motion my flow, man.
Right.
As he said to Mark Zuckerberg, when I'm conquering my space, it's actual space, man.
Right.
So the spam issue, one type of bot that is pretty common are bots that are, you'll have things like oh, I'm a hot single chick that's looking to meet somebody, and the account, the account has no followers, but it's following, millions of people,
Right.
right? And what it's doing is it's trying to get followers, and it's selling something. Sometimes it's selling an off the shelf knockoff product. Sometimes it's selling porn, and absolutely, Elon is going to be the target of that kind of spam stuff. So, for a large amount of his followers to be that kind of spam, I'm sure a couple of our followers are that kind of spam. It is not surprising at all. Cyber says most of those hot single chicks are him. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So, no, go ahead.
No, just up late in certain circles, I guess. See, it's a reference to a joke he had at my expense at the beginning of the broadcast.
Yes. I was up late in certain circles last night, so...
Stop. We don't need to know that. This is a family-friendly show.
Hell, most of these people already know. They were watching.
Yes, they were watching, but they weren't listening. Not for the first 10 minutes.
It wasn't 10 minutes.
And then every time the camera cut back to you, they still weren't listening.
Well, and I stopped cutting the camera back to me as soon as I realized that shit wasn't working right.
Look, we'll tell them about that later.
Well, yeah, that was definitely part of our AAR last night. Which we did. I mean, you got more than one veteran doing a YouTube show. We actually have an AAR afterward. So, I hate to say it, guys. I think I've spun myself out to the end of my train of thought on this particular article and topic. Now, okay. Tim Pool pointed out something interesting related to all this, more in reference to the conversation about the Veritas videos. There have been a few more, so that's developing even further. And Tim Pool pointed out, until the Veritas videos leaked, where you've got Twitter employees, specifically software engineers, who are talking expressly and explicitly about Twitter actively censoring conservative viewpoints and actively inflating visibility on left-wing viewpoints. Before that happened, looking at the suspicion of inflated numbers, and like I said, Twitter's been busted a couple times before reporting fake numbers and actually gotten in trouble for reporting the fake numbers and using those to calculate their ad buy valuations. I mean, that's fraud, right? Because if you say 100 million people look at this every day, and therefore an ad placed on this platform for 100 million people to see is worth X. If only 50 million people are actually looking every day, then the ad is worth X divided by 2. It's really not even worth that much. So that level of fraud is a problem. However, that was and is becoming less so, but is still technically in the mere speculation range. Now it's an educated guess, right? It's a reasonable speculation, and there is some evidence, but it's not proved beyond a reasonable doubt that it is the case that Twitter is currently defrauding its advertisers. It is, however, the case that Twitter has previously defrauded its advertisers and been called out and busted on that. So we can look at the history of the company and say there is a pattern of behavior here, but not conclusively proved. Now, there are measures within the contract to buy Twitter if if either party backs out of the contract now, then there's a $1 billion penalty. So if Elon backs out, he's got to pay Twitter $1 billion. If Twitter backs out, they've got to pay him $1 billion. However, now that there's the Veritas leaks, Elon's got a very strong case to say, no, this contract was signed in bad faith.
Yeah, I was about to say there's got to be some kind of good faith clause, like.
Well, there are not good faith clauses in contracts. That the contract was signed in good faith is assumed by law, right?
But that's the point. Is
and Sergeant Major, no, the SEC is related to the government, so no. The idea of a government doing its job, as near as I can tell, a government's only job is to steal my money and lie to me.
Well, no, look, the SEC...
It's good at that job.
Yeah, well, look, the SEC does its job if you're you or I, or for whatever odd reason, Martha Stewart. But, you know, if you're Nancy Pelosi, then, golly, the SEC just seems to kind of magically suck at its job.
Yeah, you can trade inside all day, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So, and again, I think this is something that we talked about either yesterday or the day before, where what's happening is things that we have long suspected and been accused of being some flavor of conspiracy theorist for suggesting, believing, whatever. They're now coming to be proven true. Like, is anybody really surprised that these super arrogant social media companies are, at least in some cases, lying? Because I'm not. And they have so much power. Like, they control the flow of information. Like, they literally do. Like, the whole Egyptian revolution thing that happened about a decade ago was all organized on Twitter.
Right.
I mean, like, it's...
Well, and remember, when we're talking about leftists, and their propensity and capacity toward fraud, I'm going to get a little academic for the last couple minutes here. We're talking about people who believe that reality is not only subjective, but malleable. And that saying a thing is the same as making a thing true. For example, saying that if you mutilate your body, you can change your gender.
Right.
You know, making that assertion makes it true. Saying that this child that I'm murdering isn't actually a child, because if it were, I wouldn't be allowed to murder it, makes it true that the child is no longer a human. Because that's convenient, right? Saying that black people aren't human because we want to continue to own slaves, Democrat, makes it true because it's useful and convenient for it to be true. Right. So we're talking about people. It's kind of like we've talked about how Hollywood, actors, actresses, writers like Stephen King, for example. One of their reasons that their outlooks on politics, policy, morality, ethics, and reality in general is so skewed is because professionally they live in a world of absolute fantasy. They live externally to reality. I mean, they are, frankly, by definition, insane.
Well, I don't know that they're insane, but they're in the cave, and they are not aware of the fact that they are in the cave. And old philosophical argument that's been going on for thousands of years, and yes, I'm going to shamelessly engage in it like I'm some kind of fucking expert. But I'm going to tell you that I'm coming to the opinion of the best way to keep somebody in the cave is to really construct the lie. Let them know that there is a cave. Let them know that they're smart enough to get outside the cave, and then convince them that they're already outside of the cave pay no attention to the man behind the curtain because you are already outside of the cave, and it's these people that are giving you cognitive dissonance. It's not because they have a point of view you haven't considered. It's because they're evil and need to be ignored. And so I would argue that I think one of the things that was really illustrative of this was the whole "Don't Say Gay" bill. Like the way some of these like when Ron Perlman put out that ridiculous video where he was like, "Oh, don't say gay, gay, gay." It's like, dude, you actually believe that the
Yeah, it's not like it was a long document. You know, if you're going to have an opinion on a document, like the Green New Deal, 7 pages, if you're going to have an opinion on the document, read the fucking thing. If you haven't read it, you don't have an opinion.
Well, but that's...
It is impossible to have an opinion on a document you haven't read. What you can have, and what most of these people do have, is someone else's opinion to regurgitate. But you cannot have an opinion on a thing that you have not examined.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. But their absolute detachment from reality is not necessarily insanity. It's just, I dare say that any of us could potentially be subject to this if you had the Matrix carefully constructed around you, or Dark City, or, pick your sci-fi dystopian flavor. As long as there were no cracks in the Truman Show, would you ever know that you were on the Truman Show? And I would even go so far as to say that all these bots on Twitter, for example, are part of it. Like, if you're going to post some insane level libs of TikTok, leftist, just total cringe, but then you have like 5,000 people give you a thumbs up, well, you feel like you've done the right thing. The only way you can manipulate somebody is with emotion. And, well, it feels good when your followers give you the old attaboys. Or attaz's, I guess, if we're talking about, leftists. So, it's not just a fraud.
I'd be totally comfortable if all the leftists actually became gray and androgynoids that were incapable of reproducing. Solves the abortion question. In fact, it solves all the problems.
Yeah, because then I can identify you at a distance.
In about one generation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, in precisely one generation.
Yeah.
So,
of course, it's going to take like 12 to get there.
Right. But, look, but it's not just a fraud in which people should probably go to jail. A la the whole, we only work 4 hours a month and get paid $150,000 a year.
Well, no, in all fairness, as much bullshit as that sounds like, and it is. But in all fairness, if you negotiated a contract for services in exchange for compensation, and the contract that Twitter voluntarily entered into with your skinny little ass is that they'll pay you $150,000 a year for 4 hours of weekly work, then, hey, that's the contract they entered into.
Yeah, but they didn't. Boy, just speaking of, based on the contract they've gone into with Elon Musk, I'm going to suggest that maybe Twitter doesn't enter into contracts in good faith. Okay,
correct.
And so. But the whole bots thing is not just a financial fraud, is not something where people should probably get arrested, get fined, and go to jail, possibly even. But there's also the fraud that the social media companies in general have perpetrated on the world, on the people, on everybody and anybody that engages with the platforms. They know that to a certain extent they've got a captive audience. Like almost everybody is on some type of social media. Just period.
Yeah.
It's what you do. And so if they can just slightly shift everybody's Overton window to the left and have people remember things that are absolutely not true and that are just absolute bullshit. Like all the stuff about how, oh man, Republicans are just evil and they want you to, and not only are they going to take away your right to an abortion, but pretty soon they're going to overturn like the ability to have gay marriage and all that. I mean, never mind the fact that the evil orange Hitler, Donald Trump was the first presidential candidate for either party to run and say things like, I'm not worried about traditional marriage. Forget all that happening in actual reality. No, we're going to control the flow of information, and we're going to make sure that everybody believes that it's the Republicans that keep doing all these evil and terrible things where they're going to strip you of your rights. And never mind the fact that if you say the wrong thing on Twitter, like, you get kicked off. Like,
Right.
Like Molyneux being kicked off as a white supremacist, even though I consumed a ton of his content, and he said over and over and over again, you cannot judge an individual by the statistics of the group. That is a thing that Molyneux said. So he's not racist, and yet he got kicked off Twitter and YouTube for being racist.
Yep.
Go figure. So all this stuff where there's all these bots, it's not just the potential to go to jail that Twitter's trying to hide. I think it's so much bigger than that, because there are so many implications for the overall game that.
Well, and it is an immutable fact, because we've seen it with our own eyes, that government is involved in Twitter censorship. Because to the extent that needs to be proved, we have heard Psaki, we have heard Biden himself, Vice President Spit Roast, right? We've heard
the new ministrics of disinformation.
The ministrics of disinformation, all those people, right? Many of your elected Democrats in office have actively not only called for additional censorship by social media, but actively threatened to codify the requirement for censorship as a threat against these social media platforms. Like, if you don't censor conservatives on our behalf, then we're going to come after your money with the law. So, you don't need to prove like contract private-public partnership on paper to show that the government has been actively coercing social media platforms, who, by the way, with all available data, are very much the hurt me more daddy crowd, right? It is also true that the employees of these social media platforms, by a wide margin, appear to be very amenable.
Yeah, you didn't have to threaten.
Engaging in that censorship. Right, all they ever had to do was ask. These people want to hurt people. They want to destroy America and hurt Americans. So, you didn't even have to ask, really. And yet, they have gone out of their way quite publicly to threaten and demand compliance with that kind of censorship. So, that there is something very, very serious going on there is very hard to dismiss. That's all I've got for this morning.
You almost made it the whole show without banging. I'm going to just take all of those away from you, so you won't bang them on the desk.
I wish you luck with that.
And have the sound go straight into the microphone.
I wish you luck with that.
See,
I need to put like a soft thing on here that I can tap on.
Nope. Or you could just stop banging them.
No, that I can't do that.
Try. Yes.
I
Yes.
did try. I made it a whole show right up until that last, right there.
I totally didn't steal anything until the end of the night when I completely stole something.
Exactly. All right, y'all be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow.